Hey, this is Austin. This is part two of Beetle 0x1. I just got cut off there. We're right in the middle of editing the UI. So instead of just pulling out the events and uncommenting it, I'm going to go ahead and just grab this stuff directly from the front end section, and we'll paste it in here. And then if the whole point here is to show that we're loading in. There we go. So now oh, that's a cool blocky. The address, so we use this address component out of Dapparatus, and we're going to plug the contract's address right into it, and it displays here. And I'm guessing if I was smart, I'd do a full test here. I'm going to do it anyways. It doesn't have it as part of that, but watch this. If we do a Clevis test full, it's going to recompile the contract, redeploy it, republish it, and push it all the way out there. We're going to see this change, so keep an eye on this blocky and this address as it deploys. What does it have it doing us next? So next will be to... Oh, yeah, it does. Okay, so yes, so we put in the address object, and then we do a Clevis test full after we run our set URL and our MetaMask tests for orchestration. So here comes the publish. Here's where it should switch. We should see this icon and this address update to the new contract. There it is. Okay, cool. So we know that we're kind of doing a full test dev loop from start to finish. Yes, exactly. You see that change. Cool. Okay, so what is next? Okay, so we want to also display the owner, and we can do that by grabbing this stuff here, and we'll put it in right here. So now we're not just going to show the address of the contract, but we'll show who is the owner of the contract. Uh-oh, something broke. This.state.owner, what's it saying? Ooh, oh, okay, yeah. I bet we do some more. Yeah, okay, so we're getting the name of the contract, but we're not loading the owner yet. What you have to do is in the contract loader, since this loads once the contracts are ready, we're going to bring in owner. We can kind of just copy that and copy that, and then we can just throw that in there. And now I bet we're happy. There we go. Okay, so there's the contract address. There's the owner. As you can see, the owner has 99.174, and that's from just deploying its cost a little bit, right? Okay, yep, we did that. Looks good. Sweet, the owner. Okay, so now it's saying, well, let's poke around from the command line a little bit more, which we did in part one. But one thing you can do is just do a Clevis explain, and it will tell you more about the contract. So what we can see here is that there's this transfer ownership function here, right? And you have one input, and it's the address of the new owner. And that functionality came in from the ownable that we inherited from OpenZeppelin. Yep, we see that. Okay, so we could actually do a transfer ownership. Let's do that. So I'm going to copy all of that and paste that in, and then to get the address, I'll go grab that from MetaMask. Oop. So now, if we keep an eye on the owner address up there, whoa, that looked weird. Did it work? Oh, we'll have to reload though because it's not loading. There we go. Okay, so now we can see that this guy, this 2A90 is now the owner of the contract. Cool. Okay, so then it's like, okay, now that we've poked around and we've tested it, we've seen that it works from the command line, let's go ahead and orchestrate that as part of our deployment process. So we will set up this transfer ownership test in our clevis.js tests, right? We'll scroll down to where our tests are, and we'll add in this new transfer ownership. And it does, again, just like from the command line, we're going to run Clevis contract owner guidlcoin to get the owner, right? And then we're going to do the assertion that that works. Or if you're doing a set, it'd be Clevis contract transfer ownership guidlcoin, what index you're using, and what address it's going to, the new owner, right? So you kind of poke around from the command line and then kind of almost copy and paste that right into Mocha and use that same functionality. That's how it's supposed to work. Okay, so we saved that. What does it have us doing now? So we've got, cool, okay, yeah, so we're going to add into the set URL.js a little bit more functionality. We're going to add Clevis transfer ownership. And just so I don't get it wrong, I'm going to go ahead and just copy it from here. Okay, so we're going to say Clevis transfer ownership, and we're going to go to from 0 to this dude, right? Oh, they're installing some lines out there. Okay, that should work. And now, should we run the whole test? Let's see what it has us doing now. Clevis test full, cool. All right, here goes. So this time it should result in finally a new contract that gets deployed and published. And also we should see that like this user ends up being the owner when this thing reloads. Here it goes. There goes the deployment. Let's see what's next. Oh yeah, we're going to see the transfer ownership at the end of this set URL. There it goes. Yeah, current owner, that. Yep. Okay, so it totally worked. Let's verify end to end. This guy's going to reload after this publishes. And we should see that I'm the owner. Right. Awesome. Okay, so again, you're not just writing your tests, but it's kind of an orchestration too. You can not just run your tests, but also like get things prepared for production. So now we are the owner. So this thing tests that the ownership stuff works and then sets us to the owner at the end. And it's ready to go. Okay, so now we're going to introduce the next Dapparatus component, and that's transactions. I could copy and paste it from here, but it should already be set up for me in the app. So I'm going to grab that and grab that. There we go. So here's transactions. It brings in a bunch of hard-coded things, not hard-coded, but other things from Dapparatus. You basically just copy and paste all this stuff in, like the gas and the Web3 and what block we're currently on. But it also has these two hooks. One is on ready, so once you're ready to transact, you're good to go, and a state comes in. So it brings us, this transactions component brings us back this tx function, and that tx function just makes calling transactions easier. In fact, it'll even abstract away the meta transaction stuff. So eventually, and we'll get to this in the next part, but you can just, the developer can just call transaction. And if it's a meta transaction, it'll detect that. If it's not, it'll work normally, and the end developer doesn't have to worry about it, which is super nice. And then on receipt would be like any time a transaction finishes, it'll come here, but the tx function has a callback, so it's a very, very familiar structure. Okay, so now, yes, it talks about the tx stuff. Oh, we're gonna see our block loader. So we don't see anything down at the bottom right yet, but if I hit save, we should now see a block loader show up down here. And it's gonna show us not only our transactions as they go through with a little progress bar to give us like an idea of the predicted time, but it's also gonna show us our blocks, and it's keeping track of the average block time and giving us a progress bar to see like how far are we away from the next block being mined. And obviously that's kind of random, but it tries to guess. Okay, so where are we now? Okay, transactions, there's the tx function. We could go look at it in the console if we wanted to. On set URL. Oh, okay, so now we basically have set up the set URL stuff in our orchestration and testing layer, but let's actually make it work the same way right in the UI, right? It'd be cool if we could, in the UI, set up who the owner is. And to do that, we are going to display. First, we want to display the current URL, and then we'll set something up to test it. So in contracts display, so that would be down here. Below that, we're just going to set up like a URL. I'll probably just put it right here. And it's going to be what, this.state.url, is that right? Yeah, that's what I have there. Let's see what it shows. It shows, okay, let's do a div around that too, just to make it, actually, watch this. Cut that, save. Okay, so right now the URL is going to be empty, right. What we need to go is go load it, and instead of loading it either from MetaMask every time a block changes or at the contract load, like once contracts are loaded up, let's create a async poll function that'll just check on some regular basis. So let's go ahead and throw that in up here. And so this checks to make sure that we have a state set and we also have our contracts loaded up. And then once it's there, it's going to grab the URL and populate the state with that. And we need to basically run it once and also trigger it to run regularly once. We should probably do that in the component did mount, right? Let's just see if that works. I think you can do that in the constructor, but I'm not really sure. Okay, the URL is still not loading though, so let's do it. Component did mount. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, still not loading. What are we doing wrong here? Okay. This.state.contracts. Let's just take a look at everything here and see what we are missing. So there is a poll function. I'm not sure. Oh, hey, you spelled it wrong, jabroni. How about now? Still no. Still no. Okay, so we want to go ahead and troubleshoot this. The best way to troubleshoot is just to throw in some console logs, right? So maybe one here saying mounted, and then we'll throw another one in when we're pulling. Oh, you know what? I don't think we're displaying anything. Wait, yeah, we are. Yeah. We are right down here. That looks right. Maybe we should do this too. Okay, and mounted, and then once we get the URL back, let's go ahead and log that too. All right, let's go watch our console and see what's going on. So it mounts. And it's not calling poll, right? Oh, wait. Oh, you know what? I bet this is going, yeah, it's every 10 seconds. Let's do every second. Maybe we're just not being patient enough. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so it was loading every 10 seconds. I just wasn't being patient enough. Whatever. Okay, here we go. So now we are loading our URL. It's coming in. We're happy about that. So then let's throw in an input button that will let us set our URL. So just a little bit of UI. And where do we put that? I think we want that in the contract display. It's kind of weird that I have that there. I'm going to put this in a contract display. It's better to do this here, right? Like when you're waiting for your contract to load up, it's good to like wait to make sure all the contracts are there and ready to go in the state before you add this stuff in. Okay, cool. So now we have this nice set URL input box that will let us like set the URL from the UI. Check out the TX function. We've kind of talked about how that already wraps it. It gives it like a nice familiar callback. And handle input is already, I think it's just right in the boilerplate already. Yeah, it'll just set the state to whatever. So then because of that, you can do this kind of value and on change handle input. So then it just kind of works. And so like as I type here, it's gonna update the React state. If you're familiar with controlled components, controlled forms, looks like there's a link there if you're not. Okay, so now the next step, yes, it looks gross, but hopefully it works. Let's see if this is wired up. I'm not sure if it is. Let's find out. Okay, so what's it gonna do? When we put in an input, we have set URL is gonna be the object name, which is weird because that's a function somewhere else, right? It's this function, but it's also the state. But when you click the button, it's going to call set URL on the guildcoin contract, and then when it comes back, it's going to give us a receipt. So this should actually work. Oh, there it goes. Confirm. There we go. And we updated. There we go. And you can see the transaction showed up down here and the URL updated. Rad. Okay, what's next? We are going to have a URL view. I think that's what I already did, right? Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's like, hey, this is a little bit ugly. There's a way to make this look a little bit better. Instead of having this like this, let's do something a little bit cooler with like an edit button and stuff. Just like a little bit of React kind of magic to make it look nicer. And then we'll put the URL view right there. I bet that's what it is. So now you kind of have the URL loaded up. Okay, so now we can trash this. Much cooler. Okay, so now it'll show the URL, and then when you're ready to edit it, you can hit edit, and then you can do http://metatx.io, set URL, and go. Cool. Okay, so that is working. We've got UI, we're setting the URL. Oh, let's switch, that's a good idea. Let's switch accounts. So now what if I'm not this dude? What if I am this dude? And I come along and I try to edit this to somethingbad.org set. And already it's going to tell us that this is going to throw, but we can do it anyway, or burn some gas for fun. But basically it's not going to let us do that, right? And that's good. So we can kind of like test it from the front end also, even though we've run all the tests already and kind of know it's working. Okay, so now we are ready actually to make a token. After all of that, playing around with UI and Clevis and all that stuff, now it's time to get weird. So we're going to bring in, we already brought in OpenZeppelin's ownable, and that just allowed us to inherit some nice modifiers that let us only the owner do stuff, but now we're going to bring in the ERC20. So let's go ahead and go back to editing our contract. Into the contracts folder, we want guildcoin.sol. All right, so we're going to import ERC20. And now we're going to inherit not just ownable, but also ERC20. And that's going to bring in all the standard token stuff that we need. Okay, and I think we're going to also need some new dependencies. Ooh, did that just work? I hope that just worked. Basically, we're bringing ERC20, we're bringing in safe math, and we're bringing in the ERC20 interface. Save all of that. I don't think we edit anything else. All right, let's see how we did. Ooh, compiling. Usually if it takes this long, it's either stacked too deep or it's gonna work, and it worked, so we're good. So normally it's not that fast, right? It'll take you some time to get it all put together. Copy and paste was handy. Again, I think I've talked about this, but you want to run Clevis compile guildcoin instead of running Clevis test full when you're editing the contracts like that, because you can get some output on what the errors are. But if everything is good, instead of doing Clevis test full, since we've already compiled, this is another trick. We're just going to do Clevis test fast, and it'll skip the compile because we've already compiled. It'll go straight to deploy, test, MetaMask. Yeah, see, it just jumps to deploy, so we don't wait for the compile time, which is one of the longer waits. Okay, so now we've deployed a token, but we have a problem. There's basically no tokens. Like, a token is just a counter, right? And there's no way to update that counter. Like, we have the interface, we have the ability to send a token from person to person, but there aren't any tokens. So what it's going to have us do is run a mint in the construction of the contract. So then we'll just like basically kind of have like this genesis moment of 10 tokens being created, and that's it. But let's go do that. So what is it? _mint, and it's going to go to message.sender. So message.sender would be the person that deployed the contract, and we're going to send them 10. Let's go ahead and compile that to make sure it works. So basically, the constructor is like what runs when the contract gets first deployed. So on deploying the contract, we're going to mint 10 tokens, and we're going to give them to the owner of the contract. And that's it. Those are the only tokens that are ever going to be created. And it looks like it worked. So let's go ahead and do a fast test. So it'll go all the way end to end. And then it looks like it's going to say, like, let's run from the command line. Let's check the balance of the owner contract, and I will do that. So it looks like we're going to poke around from the command line again, right? This is kind of a familiar thing. Like, once you've got your contract out on the network, but before you build your UI, sometimes you want to say, you know, let's poke around at it. Clevis, I guess it's accounts. Clevis. Okay, so this account should be our owner. So if we do Clevis contract, balance of, in the guidlcoin contract, this dude, 10. Okay, so he's got 10 tokens, so that works. Okay, so if we want to send some, whoa, what's going on here? Why did that copy weird? Basically, we want to do, I need to edit this and get rid of that. That's strange. Okay, so what we want to do is transfer some of the tokens up to this guy, right? So to do that, it would be a Clevis contract transfer, and transfer is just built into the token standard. You could go check that out. Let's just do an explain on the guild. Clevis explain guidlcoin, and we'll find that there's the event, there's the transfer. It takes in a 2 and a value and returns a bool, right? So let's do that. So Clevis contract transfer guidlcoin, transfer guidlcoin from account 0 to this account. Oh, no. To, well, it's actually this account right here, right? That's this dude here. Yeah, so we're going to transfer to that dude. There it goes. It wraps around. That's so weird. Okay, to that dude, we're going to send him 5. I have no idea. It worked, I think. And we could test it by just checking the balance of this dude, which I will just copy and paste. Cool, so he's got 5. And if we were to go check the balance of the other dude, that should be 5 also. So we minted 10 to the original dude, and then we sent some from one dude to the other dude, and that all worked. Okay, so cool, we're minting tokens at Genesis, but that's still not as handy as if we could actually mint them as we wanted, right? It'd be cool if we had like an account that was allowed to just mint, and that's where the roles system comes in with OpenZeppelin. It's similar to, it kind of like started with the owner, but now there's like, what is it, RB role-based account access, something like that. Whatever. It's basically like user access. Like certain users have certain access, right? So there's not just like an ownable role, but there's like a mintable or a minter's role. So instead we are going to, instead of ERC20, we're going to bring in ERC20 mintable right there. Okay. And we're going to, I don't know why it's in this order, but I'm just copying exactly what I have here. ERC20 mintable, and it's there. Okay, so, and here is all of our dependencies. They will change a little bit. Basically, it looks like we bring in mintable and we bring in the minter's role. And then once we have both of those, we also need the roles.sol. So let's go ahead and see if that compiles. Please. Okay. So instead of transferring ownership to one account, we'll just add a minter to the whitelist, right? So we can now, the reason why they have this role-based access stuff is you don't just have like one owner that could, you know, potentially you could lose that private key and then you can't mint anymore, right? So we're going to set up like multiple minters, and then we have a little bit more safety there. So it looks like there's an add minter function, and we could do the explain now. Let's jump up to our explain and run that again. Yeah, see, now we've got some new functions added, but one of them is add minter, and it takes in an address, right? So it looks like we're going to make a test for that in our tests, so we can kind of orchestrate adding a minter at deploy. So if we go to our clevis.js again, and here's our other tests, we're going to add in a minter. And that just takes an account index and who the new minter is going to be. And it looks like we're just going to add that right into our set URL. So not only do we transfer ownership, or are we going to transfer ownership? Oh, we're not going to even transfer ownership anymore, which then I think we can totally pull out the ownable stuff, but whatever, I'm just following instructions here. So we need add minter. There we go. So I guess the contract will still be owned by account 0 in Geth or whatever, but then we're going to add a minter that's going to be my MetaMask account. And let's save all of that, and let's run that. Ooh, do we compile? Yeah, we compiled, because we can see the explain. That's coming out of the ABI, which was created to compile. Okay, so now it's going to do the set URL, and in this one, it's going to make sure everything works, but it's also going to now set that dude as a minter. Neato. Neato. Cool. Okay, so now let's figure out how to mint some tokens from the front end. And instead of running explain, we can even go look at, oh, I guess we have the console up here. We can go, oh, there's all that debugging I was doing earlier. But it's saying, hey, we got the contract loaded up, and if you wanted to, you could look at the ABI and find the mint function. It's kind of gross looking. I wish that looked a little bit better. Maybe it does. Does it look better here? Nope. No, it does not. Okay, I'd rather just look at explain then. And here we just see that there's probably this mint function right here. So now there's a mint function that just takes in a 2 and an amount, and we can call that on the contract. And as long as we're a minter, then it'll let us do that. So I bet we're going to build some UI to do that. Oh, we need to find out if we are a minter or not. And so we're going to add, heck, I'm just going to copy all of this. Here's just, we're going to replace that poll function with an updated poll function that lets us also load not just the name and the address, but also if we are a minter or not. Boop. There we go. So if I undo that, redo that, undo that, redo that, we can see that the URL and the balance of is still getting loaded in, but we're also bringing in a minter, and if it changes, we update it. Okay, cool. So now we know if we're a minter, we probably need to display some kind of minter view. And look at that, we've already got a nice UI ready to go here. I'm just going to copy and paste that in. Down here somewhere, maybe like right here. Boop. And we'll put the minter view. Where did I put it in the example? Right below the URL view. Sure. All right. And I just kind of blindly did that, but hopefully we get, there we go, cool. So here's some nice UI. It lets us kind of mint coins to an address. Awesome. Neat. Okay, so we should also show the balance, and we're not nerds. We could do it from command line, but let's do it from the front end. So now we've got this balance view that we're going to also bring in here. Right here. Oh, that looks a little weird, but I bet we just have to do that. And so this is going to load our balance. I don't know if we're getting that. I don't know. Let's see what this looks like. We may need to go get the balance in the poll. Actually, I think in the poll we're getting the balance already. Okay, so now we have our balance. We have our UI. Awesome. So we should be ready. Oh yeah, that's where it says. It says bring in the balance in the poll function, but I copy and pasted it up above, so we're good to go. All right, so let's mint ourselves some guidlcoin. So if I just say 100 and I want to send it to my address, knowing that I am a minter, this should work. Please. There we go, 100. Okay, so let's go grab this other dude's account just to test to see if this is working right. So this guy should not be able to mint. Okay, so the mint UI doesn't even show up for this dude, which is good. But let's copy his address and switch back to the guy that can mint. And then mint this dude a couple coins. 55. Let's be generous. mint this dude some coins. Okay, so then if we were to click back over to him and look, he should have 55 coins. Woohoo! It's working! All right, there we go. All right, so then there's this other part where I'm like, let's create a UI to transfer token. So not just minting, but actually using the transfer function. And given what we've already done here, you should be able to do that pretty easily. And I say, hold my beer, and there's me drinking your beer with an emoji. But I'm just going to copy and paste just so we have that last bit of functionality built in. And then we should be about done here. Let's see. Bring in transfer view, save that. Cool, 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 cool. Okay, so we've got 100 coins. Okay, let's transfer 5 of them. Oh, that's not gonna work. We need to go back and copy that dude's address. So actually, let's transform. We're already here. So copy this guy's address. So even though I'm a minter, I'm also going to just transfer. It's kind of confusing, but so I copied his address. What we're going to do is we're going to transfer 5 of my coins to him and hit send. And this is just going to call the transfer function. There we go. It's even telling us it's sending 5 of them. That's pretty cool. And now our balance goes down to 95. We see the transaction go through here. And if we go look at this dude's balance, it should be, what, 60 now? 60. Cool. Okay, so we minted, we transferred, we basically created a mintable coin, and then we also created the front end to interact with that, and we also created some tests to kind of orchestrate everything and get ready to go. So this is basically like part 1 of what I'm going to be doing for my workshop in Prague for DevCon. Part 2 will be taking these ideas and actually setting up a dApp that uses meta transactions. So then you can kind of pay the gas for your user, and it helps with like easy onboarding. And I'll put out a new video for that soon. Look for that on Twitter. But basically, if you want to learn more about Clevis or Dapparatus, run through this stuff with us. Hit me up in Prague. It'll be October 31st at 3:30 p.m. in the Kokolo room. All right. Thanks a lot. Check it out. Come build with us. Hit me up on Twitter. Thank you.